Thank you very much, Edward. That's almost an interference in the internal affairs of Thailand. A rather sensitive issue these days. Associate Professor Anchali Songsamsawat, President of Thailand TESOL, Pan-Asia Consortium of, Teachers of English, President of the Association of Teachers of English of all the ASEAN countries, distinguished panelists, experts, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you who are old enough in the ThailandTESOL would remember that 26th, a Thursday of January 1995, it was my first love with Thai TESOL right here on this stage, in this podium, in this room. If you remember, Ajahn Anjali, you invited me when I was Deputy Foreign Minister of Thailand. And it was the time that I myself had gone through a conversion with my relationship with the English language. Before that, the English language for me was a door to opportunities from a very impoverished village at the foothill of my province, Cr.Chaithawach, to the world of education, all the way to Cambridge, Massachusetts. It was a gateway, it was a door of opportunities. After that, it became a social equalizer. Because with the English language, I could climb the ladder of this very hierarchical society called Thailand. Only because I could articulate and express myself in English clearly, that I would be accepted into the constellation of universities and institutions here in Thailand and in the region. After that, after being a key, a door to opportunities, a social equalizer, it was a key to the best quality education that anybody can dream of, and the experiences that would come along with those opportunities of education. Later on, it became a tool of diplomatic profession. Because I needed the language in order to connect people, in order to persuade people, in order to convince people to the way in which I think the region should be going, or the country should be going, or the global community should be going. And when I became Secretary General of ASEAN, it became an instrument of integration of the entire global community. Only English that could be used. Among us, 10 ASEAN countries, 600 million people, diverse, speaking in Indonesia alone, 400 languages. So I could communicate with the Chinese, with the Japanese, with the Indians, with the Koreans, even with the Australians in English. There is no common language among us. And English has been identified as the working language of ASEAN. Anybody who wants to come to ASEAN, you either have to speak the language or bring your own interpreters. We don't provide, we don't translate. And we save a lot of money for not having to hire interpreters and translators, unlike the European Union. But in 1995, the conversion that I had to go through was, this is an item of real passion. Because it is not only a door, a gateway, a social equalizer, a key to education, key to integration, a tool for international cooperation. But for Thailand and for the entire region, the English language is also a key to transformation. Many of us in ASEAN are caught in this thing called the middle income trap. Meaning, you are not going to get higher than 10,000 US dollars per head. Because your economies have been based on low cost labor, abundant natural resources, and no cost to the environment. There's no technology, there's no science, there's no intellectual property in anything you do, anything you produce, anything you export. Only through technological, educational, scientific innovation and transformation that a country like Thailand could get out of that middle income trap and begin to produce high value products rather than low cost mass products of agricultural nature or textile, apparel. No intellectual property into the products that we produce. But then when we look at our educational system, we complain about the lack of critical thinking, lack of critical analysis, lack of problem solving, only repetitive and only rote education, remembering facts, dates, figures, and that's about it. If you repeat everything back, you get an A. A society, a country cannot go to the next level. And lately, I have been attending workshops on English, in English. And when I finish my presentation, I ask, who have any questions, any comments? The first hands which went up, were students of the English programs in those schools in the provinces and around Bangkok. The Thai curriculum students were not courageous enough, critical enough, thinking enough to raise the hands, and to ask questions. What does that say? It means the English language in the classroom can introduce a new dynamics between teachers and students, between teachers and teachers. It forced teachers to do better reading and more teaching preparations, because students are likely to know a lot of issues on the topic that you will be talking about, because he or she, they will look through these instruments that they already have in their hands. So the dynamics of the classroom would change automatically without having to try to force it or to impose upon it. And that's exactly what you want in a new classroom of a new nation that wants to get out of this middle income trap. So that you go next to innovation, you go next to research, you go next to development and design, because that would only come with an education that will teach you to think, to analyze, to ask questions, and to be creative. So it was a transformation on my part, that by focusing on this small item, not small to you, but I'm sure in the ministries of education around ASEAN, English is taken as a subject and nothing more. We teach because we have to teach, we teach because it is in the curriculum. You've heard of the joke. Teacher of English as secondary language, TESOL, teacher of English as speakers of other language. The other one is TENOA, teachers of English for no reason. Because it is in the curriculum, therefore to teach, that's all. So there's no passion, there's no commitment, there's no inspiration from the administration down to the director of curriculum, down to the students, down to the parents. There's no sense of urgency and strong motivation to learn the language. And for Thailand, we had another trap. It is called the trap of not being colonized. When countries in the region were emerging out of colonialism, from the Dutch, from the French, from the British, and the Americans, the Philippines, Thailand took pride in the fact that we had never been colonized. For many countries in the region, the language identity was an item of nation building. We need this language because we want to be separate and different from our colonial masters. Indonesia went very far. Rather than calling the language Malay, Indonesia called it Bahasa, which essentially means language in Bali. We speak our language. In Malaysia, they went through this problem of national identity crisis. Should we continue to study English, or should we change to Malay? So it became an issue of national identity. Thailand used it in a very obtuse way. Our English is not good enough. Don't laugh at us, only because we have never been colonized. So it was an item of pride used to excuse rather than used to explain. And then what happened? Countries that emerged out of colonialism had to prove to the world that they should not have been colonized in the first place. That they had something to contribute to the global community. There was this third world state, there was this non-allied state, there was this developing country stage. They jumped on those stages. And they were active, and they were engaged, and they were very, very eloquent in the presentation of their issues and their agenda. Thailand didn't have to do that because we had never been colonized. And even if we wanted to do it, we couldn't do it because we don't know the language. So the diplomatic tools, English and others, for many of the former colonies were being sharpened, were being cleaned, were being used in order to build up their nations. Thailand didn't have to. I call Thai diplomacy, getting into a sensitive subject again, I call Thai diplomacy, diplomacy of accommodation. We accommodate everyone. America? Yes. Say something we don't like, but that's okay. Chinese, Japanese, Europeans? Yes, 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 we accommodate. And when you accommodate, you don't have to try that much to explain. Just smile, that's enough. Good food, that's enough. But for the former colonies, I call that kind of diplomacy, diplomacy of defiance. They had to defy the colonial powers to come into being. They had to continue running, engaged, involved on the global stage in order to prove that they are worthy of the independence that they were given, that they should not have been colonized in the first place. That's diplomacy of defiance. The questions that Thailand has to ask itself now: can you compete on the regional stage, on the global stage? Because you never had to do it before. And that is the problem. But anyway, here in this forum, I came to convince all of us, all of you. Much as I told the TESOL International in Portland, Oregon last March at their international convention, that it is more than the language that you are teaching. Joel, you were there. Brello supported me there. It's more than teaching the language. It's the opportunity to transform, to shape, and to help regions communicate with each other, peoples communicate with each other, evolve their vision for the future together, integrate, cooperate, and work with each other, and help transform those societies, those countries. It's the power of the language, the power of persuasion, the power of communication that you are imparting and teaching your students to grow up, to become not only as citizens of their respective countries, Malaysians, Singaporeans, Indonesians, Japanese, Koreans, Indians, Pakistanis, Australians. No. But they are also becoming citizens of the global community. why the trend lately in the teaching of the English language has not been just technical points of grammar, where to put the dots, when not to put the commas or the semicolons. More than that, it is called content-based, meaning your students will have to know the issues within their life, in their daily life, in their economic environment, within their political framework, national, regional, and global. Because without them being aware of the situation that they are in, that they will be living in when they finish their education, English is just a soulless tool, like a pen, like a pencil, no more than that. But when you infuse content, issues of the global community, global warming, poverty, human rights, all the issues, Ebola, all the issues that we have to face together, that no one people, no one country can do it alone in the search for the solution. It takes the entire global village. Mrs. Kunthong would say, it takes a village. That's when the power, real power of the English language is unleashed for the benefit of all of us. I'm sure French language expert would say the same thing. But I noticed a difference. In 1960, 1972, I went to Paris, tried to order something, asked the waiters, you have anybody who speaks English here? I said, why should we? When we go to London, nobody speaks English to us, to French to us. Now if you go to Paris, or Rome, or Frankfurt, or Brussels, you don't have to try that hard. They will come to you and they will say, madam, sir, what do you want? What can I do for you? That's the transformation. That's the force of globalization. But more people speak English, more people study English, more people want to know English. Commerce, diplomacy, science, information, entertainment. I'm sorry, this is the language of the global community. You are in the right profession. But we all have to do more. We all have to make this studying of this language more interesting and more exciting. More content-based. And maybe even more futuristic into the future. In Korea, they went so far as developing an English immersion village, where they would hire native speakers from across the globe who speak English as their native tongue. And students or executives from corporations in Seoul, in Korea, would have to come and spend 5 days, 10 days, 1 month, living in that village where the only language used is English. You stepped from your bus into this gate and it said immigration service. You would face an Australian lady asking you, what are you here for? And the girls will have to articulate the purpose of her being there, saying, I am here to learn the English language. Then they would be given paper money that they would have to go to the bank, talk to the tellers who are also speaking English. Then they will go to their residence, where the manager would be only speaking English to them. It's called the English Immersion Village. Because as Korea goes, anything that Korea wants to do, they will do it well. So it's futuristic in that sense, committed to make sure that you get this language under control before you leave high school. And what happened? From $68 per head at the end of the war, per head income of Korea, now it's on par with the US per capita income, less than 40,000 US dollars a year. Because with that English facility, proficiency, a lot of Koreans could go into science, technology, innovation, research, development, and design. Ergo Samsung. I'm not trying to advertise for anyone. It could be Apple. But it is the consequence of the mastery of that language that has led to a better education, a wider source of information, and a more extensive harvesting of experiences from around the world. Even if you have to do, what do you call this? Scientific espionage. It's better to do it in English. It's more available in English. So, be futuristic about it. Think about ways to deliver the service that you have, and that is the service of teaching the language. I have seen around the region different levels of proficiency of English here in ASEAN. And I have heard the Prime Minister of Malaysia asking Prime Minister of the UK, asking Prime Minister of Australia, asking Prime Minister of New Zealand, asking the President of the United States, asking Prime Minister of Canada. Malaysia, a country that used to think only Malay should be taught to our young people. They have changed their mind. They realize that even in Malaysia, they need the facility of the English language. And I heard Mr. Obama turn to Ms. Clinton and said, why can't we do it? And Mrs. Clinton said, yes, we can. But she was very ingenious. Right organization to help identifying people and experts. I'm sure she talked to Peace Corps too, Kevin. But then it would be costly for entire ASEAN. And what did she do? She went to the Sultan of Brunei and asked the Sultan of Brunei, can you help? And the Sultan said, how much you want? Now, the joint program between the Fulbright program and Bruneian government program are working together. And many of our schools, including my school in southern Thailand, benefit from that cooperation. This is itself a change in attitude in ASEAN. We need it. We have our resources. We need help. Therefore, we work together. We are not just waiting for all the help coming to us. This morning, there's a headline in the Nation newspaper saying that in the Global Talent Competitiveness Index, 93 countries surveyed, Thailand ranks 61st, 61. And one of the reasons given by people who have done that survey is the fact that it's the quality of education, it's foreign language proficiency, it's the ability to go one step higher than where we have been, and that is just producing mass products for companies, for major corporations from outside, exported from here, but no contents except the labor that we put in. So 93 countries, 83.8% of the population of the world surveyed, 96.2 combined GDP was surveyed in that Global Talent Competitiveness Index. And I'm sure other countries in the region are doing the same thing, are faring about that much. Out of 93, we are 60 plus, probably except Singapore and Malaysia. So, the landscape has to grow together. The community coming into being at the end of this year will need a more leveling of opportunity, of wealth, yes, of education, yes, of the proficiency in the English language. Those of you who are in this profession, on this landscape, will have to take that as your mission forward. This morning before coming here, I got a call from Washington, D.C. At the other end of the line was none other than Madeline Albright, who wanted me to go to Beijing in early April to talk about regional architecture of cooperation in the region, East Asia. She said, Surin, you have to be there because you have done it. Back in the year 1999, I had to argue with her about Dr. Cr.Chaithawach when we fielded our own Deputy Prime Minister as candidate to the WTO. She said, we are ready to go to a third candidate, not Mike Moore of New Zealand, not Cr.Chai of Thailand. I used my English proficiency to convince her. And here's what I said. Madam Secretary, you are not going to solve the problems of trade in the global community if you go to a third candidate. Whoever it is, she or he will not be able to deliver what you want. She screamed into this, why not? I said she or he would be the symbol of this divisive organization, the failure of of this process, it would take years for the WTO to recover from this crisis of house divide. Then she's quiet. And she asked me, so what are we going to do? And I said, well, I'm not a lawyer. You have a lot of lawyers in Geneva and in Washington. Ask them if there is any rule against electing two at the same time, divide their term, and we have two. And I said, if 4-4, it would be too long, unfair to others waiting in the wing. But if it is 6 divided by 2, 3-3, it would be tolerable. She said, I'll call you back when I get the answer. She called me back the next evening. I said, can I wait? Because I was doing my exercise. She was on her way from Paris to Helsinki, negotiating the peace agreement of Kosovo. Remember that. Here's the State Department wanting to speak to the Foreign Minister of Thailand. I'm sorry, I'm not quite ready to talk. And she called back in 10 minutes. Okay, yes. In 2 minutes, the phone rang. She wants to talk to you now. I said, okay, put her on. She said, what you said last night was doable. But our candidate has to come first. Not giving up. So I used my English again. I said, Madam Secretary, 2 phone calls from Washington and Thailand breaking through this stalemate. And we could agree, and we would bring this decision to Geneva. What if they reject our discussion? What if they turn the table over? She said, what do we do? I said, well, let it sink in. Let them feel, at that time, 114, 15 countries, let them feel they own this decision. Let them feel that they are part of the solution. Let them feel that their 2 years of arguing and wrangling in cold weather of Geneva is now producing something. And that's exactly what happened. I'm telling you this, it's quite dramatic that I used to argue with her through this morning. She said, you have to go to Beijing, we'll talk about regional cooperation architecture. You must be there because you have done it. How could I have done it? From a village boy in southern Thailand, a minority, without much opportunities, but with that vehicle, climbing that ladder, with that social equalizing element, and access to the best of education the world has to offer, and using it as an instrument of integration and cooperation in the region and global. She could only say, because you have done it, because of the English language that I have. And it did not come easy, ladies and gentlemen. It came with a lot of hard work, but a lot of motivation. And that's what your students need. And if you teach them something that they feel irrelevant, nothing to do with poverty in my village, nothing to do with the changing of season and the dry of the streams and the rivers and the pollution in my rivers, in my seas, in my ocean, if they don't feel the relevancy that the English language can help them understand and help them participate in the search for the solution of these human problems, they are going to feel very dry. They are going to feel unmotivated. They are going to feel irrelevant. And worse, when the school administrators say, you have to teach English because it is in the curriculum. You are graduates of physical education, but you have to teach English. You have no expertise in English, but we don't have anybody better than you, so you teach. It's out of necessity rather than out of realization of the need for the proficiency in that language that the country needs. Whether you're Malaysia, whether you are Philippines, whether you are Vietnam, whether you are Laos or Cambodia or Myanmar, your country needs this in order for us to walk into the future together. And I hope that I'm celebrating my 20th anniversary with you. I hope that my own life journey can give a little bit of encouragement to you. That on this long journey, English can make a difference. That a sense of community here in this region, 600 million people, could be evolved by using this instrument. That the Chinese and the Indians and the Japanese and the Koreans communicate with each other and with us in English. That they would concede that if we want to work the future together, we better find something practical rather than something nationalistic. I think the environment is now quite ready for you to deliver your lessons, your service, more effectively than before. You go to any village, any school in Thailand, any temple in Thailand, you would see 10 ASEAN flags plus the flag of ASEAN, because they all know that we are going into that community at the end of this year. Same as in other countries, other members. And they know that they need to be competitive. They know they need to grow up technologically, education-wise, and they need to invest more in the development of their human resources. And they know the bottleneck of human resource development is always the access to more information, more knowledge, more science, more technology. And the only way to try and open that bottleneck is the English language. I've been there, I've seen it, and I have done it. And passing on the torch of the future of the landscape to all. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Dr. Surin, thank you very much, very much for your reflections, your very relevant reflections on English language education in Asia and the directions in which you think they must progress. ThailandTESOL, I will present a token of appreciation to Dr. Surin. And may I ask that you remain on stage so that members of PAC and the international affiliates to join Dr. Surin and ThailandTESOL for a group photo.
Yes, 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 yes. It's obviously it's full bride. I think she was before she wasn't it? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, take a break.